Greetings, you filthy heretics. My name is Kamikaze, and I have a question for you. Do you like laser guns? Do you like Call of Duty? Do you like Cadia? And do you like being really snarky all of the time? Then enlist with the Imperial Guard, because the veteran is the class for you. The Imperial Guard, the Astra Militarum, are the main military force of the Imperium of Man, comprised of billions and billions and billions of regular men and women facing the horrors of the galaxy, armed with nothing but a Kevlar vest, their trusty lasgun, and 40,000 tanks. They rely on massive numbers and overwhelming the enemy with the insane volume of firepower that many men and tanks can output. This can be a bit of a double-edged sword, however, as when you have 500,000 men fighting in each battle, tactics and maneuvering can be a bit challenging. This leads to the Guard often relying on their sheer numbers just running at the enemy, which in turn leads to a ridiculously high casualty rate. The Guard, especially the new recruits, are cannon fodder. They're used as a distraction to draw the fire of the enemy, and if they die in the process, who cares? You got 5 million more to take their place. Once a guardsman has survived a few battles and proven their worth, then they get to fight like actual real soldiers, and not just be sent directly into the meat grinder. And, have you ever heard the saying, fear the old, in a profession where men die young? I cannot think of a more apt place for this than the Imperial Guard. Veteran guardsmen are some of the toughest brass-balled dudes you will ever meet in this galaxy. So if you're playing the game and you hear some of the veterans' voice lines and you're like, wow, they seem to be taking this literal demonic invasion from hell pretty casually. They are. This is like a Tuesday for them. They have seen worse. I have at my command an entire battle group of the Imperial Guard. 50 regiments, including specialized drop troops, stealthers, mechanized formations, armored companies, combat engineers, and mobile artillery. Over 500,000 fighting men and 30,000 tanks and artillery pieces are mine to command. Emperor, show mercy to the fool that stands against me, for I shall not. War Master Demetrius of the Imperial Guard. In-game, the veteran is the ranged weapon specialist of the group. Lasgun in hand, your job is to deal with specials and elites, and the innumerable long-ranged enemies that can tear your team apart. Especially these pricks. Forget not that we are... You see, Darktide has a much greater emphasis on range combat than your typical hack-and-slash, horde-killing Left 4 Dead style game, which makes the veteran an invaluable addition to any squad. I do kind of joke, but it's true that the snipers in this game do massive damage, felling even your mighty Ogren in just a few shots. So, as the veteran, you don't really want to be focusing on the big hordes of little dudes running at you, because frankly, you're not that good at it. Leave those to your Zealot or Psyker, and focused on the long-distance stuff. Perhaps somewhat counterintuitively, the veteran is almost kind of support class, essentially trying to control the battlefield, dealing with flanking enemies, take down priority targets, protect your team from snipers and other gun-wielding enemies so that your teammates can absolutely go to town on the close-up threats without getting shot to bits. There are some spicy builds you can run to switch this up, but in terms of your classic, and probably still the best veteran playstyle, this is what you do. Speaking of builds, this is what is probably considered the meta veteran build. It really does lean into that supporty playstyle. Comes with lots of good buffing auras, buffs up your ultimate so that shields more. I've noticed not many people seem to run this revive perk, but I really like it. It has come in clutch more times than I can count. It also uses one of the brand new keystones that changes your normal tagging into super tagging. you build stacks over time, and then the next time you mark an enemy, rather than that just being a visual thing for your team, it actually increases the damage everybody does to that target by a percentage based on how many stacks you add. I believe it's 4% per stack. You can have up to 5 stacks or 8 stacks with this little node here. And I gotta say, this ability is completely bonkers. Your team will absolutely shred bosses, and it will let you basically one-shot any non-boss with the first weapon I'm going to recommend here, the plasma gun. It was a pretty smooth segue, wasn't it? This weapon was already good, but having the ability to increase the damage enemies take makes it really insane. You tap on little guys, you charge on the big guys, bada boom, bada bing, everything is dead. It's a great build, it's fun, pretty melee heavy a lot of the time, which is awesome. I like that. It's super good. Give it a shot. Other good weapons here are the infantry lasgun, the hellbore, auto guns. Honestly, most things. The only thing I would probably stay away from a little bit are the recon lasguns. Those guns can be really good, but they need a bit of a more specific build for them to be good. For melee weapons, basically whatever's your favorite. I'm a big shovel fan, so that's what I run a lot of the time, but if you really do want to sweat it out, go for what's technically the best. It's probably either power sword or chain sword. Again, melee weapon is important here. You will be doing a lot of meleeing with this build, kind of crowd controlling for your team. And yeah, I really like this build. It's a good hybrid, melee ranged. Very fun, very effective. Give it a shot. But what if you want to do a little more damage? You don't care about your team. You're the carry. You're the best player. Well, this is the build for you. I call this the Chris Kyle build. Range damage is the name of the game here, and basically, you're just gonna pimp out your ranged stance. Also, you make use of this new keystone, which is fantastic for sniping. It makes you do more damage if you don't move. You build up stacks when you don't move and you shoot things. If you move, you lose your stacks, but if you hit a headshot, then you get to move for 3 seconds and keep your stacks. So, you stand still, shoot some stuff, pop a headshot, and then reposition if you have to, and then shoot more stuff. Most long-range weapons are good here, although special mention to the Hellbore Mark III, because big numbers and big dopamine. I could go into the melee weapons here, but honestly, if you're rocking this build, you don't care about melee weapons, let's be honest. This is also, actually, it is a pretty good build. It's a bit of a more passive play style, which, I mean, it's not really my thing, but it is pretty good if you like that kind of thing, so give it a whirl. If you do want to be a little bit more aggressive, though, bam. Now I know what you're thinking, comma, what am I looking at here? This is terrible. Well, yes, but it's fun, and that's all that I care about. This is the Krieg build. If you want to charge straight in with your zealot and give your life in service of the Emperor, this is the build for you. Lots of melee damage, a little bit of range damage so you can still deal with big threats if you have to, and a little survivability so that you don't die instantly. What really ties it all together, though, is this little node right here. It makes you do up to 25% more damage when you sprint. Now, the Hellbore is mandatory for this build. I like the Mark 1, but that's personal preference. I would avoid the Mark 3 probably, though, because it's a slower weapon. And you're not going to shoot the enemy with your gun like an idiot. You're going to sprint right in with a bayonet charge. Stab the first heretic you run into, give it a blast, and then whip out your melee weapon and bonk and bonk and bonk. As this is the Krieg build, I obviously recommend the shovel, although the chainsword is extremely good here as well, and still lore accurate. Kriegsmen do like their chainswords. This build is ridiculous, and I love it. I will make no claims that it is good, and your teammates may hate you for it, but that's fine, because they're clearly not as devoted to atoning for their sins as you are. To the untrained eye, it may look like I just threw the game, but that's your lack of devotion that blinds you to my tactical brilliance. Also, I mean, I'm not going to tell you to spend money on cosmetics, but if you do happen to have the Krieg outfit, 10 out of 10. Curios are pretty straightforward, health and toughness. Also, probably an extra wound if you're going with the Krieg build. You will go down often. Secondaries, also pretty normal. Health, toughness, stamina reduction is good, again, especially on the Krieg build, because you want to charge in. And damage reduction. This is what I run, but feel free to mix and match and see what works for you. The Veteran is my personal favorite class in Darktide. My two favorite kind of playstyles in any game are either as a sort of pure healer support or charging straight in like a psychopath. And the Veteran lets me accomplish both of these, often at the same time, which is something you don't usually get, and I like that. That, and I've always had a soft spot for the Guard, them just being normal men and women up against the endless horrors of the galaxy. It's kind of inspiring. So, if you learned anything, or you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to my channel, and always remember, Curios stands.